Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Subscription Scaled. I'm your host, Nick Frederick. With me today is Matt Roberts, who is the co-founder and CEO of Cometeer. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Nick. Excited to dive into our learnings at Cometeer on the subscription front.
Absolutely. Well, we're glad to have you on. Appreciate you taking the time. Let's start with Cometeer. Tell us about the business. Tell about yourself and how you came to found it.
Awesome. Sounds great. So, Cometeer is a unique product. We see ourselves as category creators here. We deliver the absolute best tasting coffee on the planet, all from a new format, flash frozen capsule with no machine required. Now, there are a lot of folks out there that are claiming they deliver the best tasting coffee on the planet.
Sure.
Coffee is a very gimmicky space, but actually what we've proven is that our process can capture more flavor and aroma than any other packaging format on the planet. So just to briefly cover our process, we work with world-class farmers and roasters who source the absolute best tasting coffee beans on the planet. The roasters roast the beans, send us the beans fresh, and then we tag in for the grinding and brew step. And we've developed the most advanced grinding and brew equipment on the planet. We brew coffee perfectly at 10x strength. And then immediately before that coffee touches oxygen, we flash freeze it with liquid nitrogen in a fully recyclable capsule and seal it and ship it direct to your door on dry ice. Now, all you need to do to melt the perfect cup of coffee on the planet is drop this frozen little puck into 8 ounces of hot water and mix. It acts almost like instant coffee. It is not instant coffee, but it acts like it. It's that quick. You can also melt it into ice water. You can throw it into milk for a latte. You can make espresso martinis. You can essentially recreate the entire menu without a machine. And its sweet kicker is the capsule does rinse clean during use, which allows it to be curbside recycled. So it's the first curbside recyclable capsule on the market as well. Just a little bit about me. I grew up in North Shore, Massachusetts. Was a lifelong Dunkin's drinker until I was kind of introduced to the forbidden fruits, and went to school in the area. And this idea, or the inception of Cometeer, really dates back to my junior year of college. I was studying abroad in Spain. I was missing my big jumbo iced coffee. I'd get it in a number of large chains in the area. And for the first time, I started fooling around making coffee at home and discovered it was quite easy to melt coffee ice cubes into an iced coffee, which was my jam back in the day. One thing led to another. I started poking at this concept of freezing coffee after brewing and really discovered that it was just a better way to preserve nuance in a coffee bean. And since then, as I've mentioned, we've scientifically validated that brewing coffee fresh and flash freezing it will preserve more nuance than any other packaging format. And that does include instant coffee, anything bottled, and even whole bean coffee. I think consumers really don't understand the coffee industry very well. Like most folks don't even know coffee is the seed of a cherry. When people hear that, they're like, oh my goodness, wow. So it's a seed of a cherry that's cooked or roasted and then dissolved into water. And there's a lot of steps where coffee deteriorates, especially the roasting step. So when a coffee bean is cooked, you develop the good flavor and aromas in the bean, but then CO2 is formed within the bean. That pushes flavor and aroma out. And it's why roasted coffee only really has a peak shelf life of 3 to 4 weeks, and why every coffee bag you've ever seen has a little valve on the back of it. That valve is actually designed to release freshness. If it didn't exist, then the bag would explode. It's not for free smells. So we've gotten over that hump by processing the coffee fresh, grinding it, brewing it fresh, and then flash freezing it. So I very much don't classify the company as a true D2C company. We're more manufacturing innovation, but we love the direct consumer space. We love the subscription model for coffee. And that's where we're heading with the business as kind of our favorite channel for scale. Okay.
Couple of questions off the bat. One is, where did the name Cometeer come from? And what does it mean?
We were in stealth mode for years and years. And it's funny, if you look back at the names of the business, we've had so many. And we knew before we were actually bringing the product to market, we really wanted to nail it. So we wanted a name that really captured the identity of the brand. And what we're doing is is rather complex. It's unique. So we wanted something that was really future forward, something that said impact, and something that was synonymous with frozen, but didn't exactly say iced coffee, if that makes sense. So when we were pinning words to the board, one that really stuck was the word comet, right? And not a lot of people know this, but a comet is a big ball of frozen gases hurling through space. It looks like it's on fire, even though it's frozen. The word has great consonants with coffee. So you see the C, you see the O, a lot of the same letters existing in comet versus coffee. And we wanted to add something to make it unique and really own it. So we added the EER suffix. And once we started repeating the name, we knew it was complex and out there, but we are a new and unique business. So we really, really like the name. And I think it's catching on. Definitely some pronunciation issues every now and then.
I'm sure. Yeah, it took me a minute to be like, all right, how am I supposed to say this?
Yeah, that's one of the jokes we have around the company. Is one of our goals is that people properly pronounce not only Cometeer, but where we make the product, which is Gloucester, Massachusetts. We hear Cometeer from Gloucester all the time, as you can imagine.
Yeah. My other favorite city in the area is Worcester.
Worcester, of course. Worcester, love it.
Yeah, you wouldn't pronounce that correctly if you saw it spelled, nor could you spell it correctly if you heard somebody say it.
I wish we could afford, Ben Affleck to come in and pronounce the name the right way here.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I'm curious about is you said it yourself. You view kind of the company as an innovator in the way that you're doing this freezing technology, right? So coffee makes a hell of a lot of sense, right? Just because of so much nuance goes into that product. When you brew it correctly, you want to preserve that, get it to the consumer and then have them be able to unlock it. I'm curious, is your goal here to kind of perfect coffee and then go into other food products or other things?
Absolutely at some point in time, but the coffee industry is certainly large enough to be our focus today. And we know that right now the industry is developing without us. Specialty coffee, in my opinion, is 10 to 15 years behind where craft beer is, right? And like 100 years behind where wine is. So there is a lot more variety that exists than people think. There are single origin coffees that you would drink that would absolutely blow your mind. The reason why coffee is behind beer or wine is because it's pretty easy to uncork a wine bottle, right? You don't go to a bar and the bartender's not mashing grapes. No one's brewing beer behind the counter. So in coffee, when you get these really special beans that are procured from some of the best roasters and cooked to perfection, honestly, the consumer typically messes up the brew step in the last 5 minutes and they don't taste why the coffee bean is so special. So what you're trying to do when you brew coffee is dissolve a very specific 20 to 22% of the coffee beans mass, right? And if you didn't know that, then it's unlikely you're brewing a great cup at home. And what's happening is you're getting up and over that 20%, and you might not even get up over that 20% with all of the grounds. If you just get up and over that 20% with a portion of the grounds, you end up extracting cellulose from the coffee bean. Coffee beans mostly made of wood. And when you start extracting that wood, that's when ashy and woody flavors just knock out the cup. So even if you're dissolving the good stuff, right, you end up dissolving a lot of the bad stuff. So a lot of folks don't want to splurge for that $20 specialty bag of coffee if they can't make it taste magical at home. So that's where we say everyone can melt the perfect cup. Not everyone can brew the perfect cup. And I'm actually a big craft beer drinker. And I can't imagine I'd be drinking a lot of craft beer if I had to procure my own yeast and hops, to brew at home and turn my kitchen into a science fair.
Yeah. Well, okay. So to that point, you have a certain amount of consumer education to do here, right? Because we think of it as I can go to my local coffee shop or even a Starbucks or whatever, and they take care of that process for me and just hand me the finish. Or I go and buy the beans, and maybe I go try to buy these expensive machines and make it myself at home. But that's all consumers really think about, right? That it's those two options. So how are you educating them that no, you actually can make, very high quality at home through this process?
Yeah. So customer education and trial, like that's our number one challenge, right? Like it's, first off, why should I care about specialty coffee? Why is this coffee different? Why is this product frozen? How do I use it? There's a lot to get over there. When I look at some of the best CPG brands over the past couple of decades, they didn't have this challenge. Kind Bar, for example, right? You get a Kind Bar, you open the wrapper and you eat it. You get a flash frozen capsule. You're thinking, does this need a machine? No, it doesn't need a machine. So certainly education is tough. And when we educate a customer is important. We really try to keep a lot of the science until later, right? People need to taste the product and then they'll want to learn more. So we think it's more important to educate them on how to use the product first and how to use it to make the drink that they want over the scientific aspect. And when we think about acquisition channels, we like longer form content. TikTok is great, like for showing like quick, easy recipes, this or that, but you're not going to be able to, explain our process in that reason to believe because of the unique process on a 7-second TikTok ad. That's where YouTube, podcasts, working with creators that have audiences with longer attention spans. That's really important for us. Also, out of home is huge. Field sampling. I look at what I think is the number one D2C company on the planet right now. When you look at revenue, one of our competitors, and that's Nespresso, right? And they scaled into a multi-billion-dollar company before Meta existed. Now, how did they convert their customers? They did it in person with sampling, right? So arming our field team to go out and actually sample the product in person and acquire digital subscription customers that way is a key focus of ours as well. So like trial and education, how can we get over those barriers? How can we get someone to believe in the product? Tasting is believing, and also finding someone you trust that recommends the product is important, whether that is just a creator you love or a friend. So that kind of sets the direction for our acquisition channels that we're focused on.
So you have an added layer of logistical complexity, though, in that this product has to be kept frozen, right?
Yeah, and that has certainly been a challenge, but building out the facility in this new manufacturing process and essentially building a plant out in 18 months was more of a challenge than finding out how to throw dry ice into an insulated shipper or throwing our product on a frozen truck. So a lot of people bring that up, and it's a little bit lower on the challenge list than people realize. Well, look, when we have reinvented the wheel from a coffee extraction standpoint. Like our brewers, they look like rocket ships. People say, oh yeah, like how complex can this be? And they come in and investors say, wow, I see, like I invest in biotech companies that don't have a setup like this. So owning our own manufacturing is a challenge. That's where we want to focus our efforts. Product development is important to us. That's when we want to think outside the box. There's a lot of companies that have been shipping frozen. So what are they using for packaging? What 3PLs are they using? How are they doing fulfillment? I mean, we don't want to reinvent the wheel where we don't have to. And companies have been shipping frozen for a very, very long time.
Yeah. So naturally, then that product would do great in a grocery store, right? It's pretty easy to put it in a freezer. But on subscription, you kind of hit on it a little bit there. But how does that work? I mean, I'm a subscriber to like Pet Plate today for my dog food, and they flash freeze everything after they make it and then put it in there with dry ice, and it comes to me. And most of the time, by the time it gets to me, it's still frozen. But that's not always the case. But you're shipping a liquid product, so how does that work?
Yeah, so we have a 30,000 square foot freezer here. So once we produce the product, we keep it frozen. Our shelf life is, honestly, we don't really know what our true shelf life is. We're melting down capsules that are like 3 years old. Like, whoa,
really?
This is incredible. You're the coffee that you're getting. We don't hold that much inventory. Don't worry. But anyway, we brew the coffee, we flash freeze it. We then distribute it to our 3PLs. When you're a customer, you come in and we try to understand what your go-to cup is. And this is a challenge for us because people who get, a blonde roast or something like that at a big chain, that's actually dark roast coffee, right? Everything's kind of dark roast and blends at a high level. So we try to get a feel for what your go-to cup is and then find the right curated variety to send you, right? So we start
Yeah.
understanding what you like for coffee. We like to start with a range, and then people get more narrow. So we have people come in and they think that they love dark roast coffee, but they'll try a mixed pack to start. And then they'll realize that they like, single origin light roast coffee. And then we'll start curating a variety for them. So right now, most of our packs are variety packs, but if you find a roaster that you really enjoy, you can just get coffee from that roaster. And we
Okay.
continue to kind of build out the offering. We'll have build your own box soon. And one thing that we do love about D2C is the variety. And everyone at the company here is so passionate about coffee. After you work here and you get to again sample the forbidden fruits and try coffee from different origins, you want that variety. And when you go into retail, you have to kind of pick your blue SKU, right? And you have to limit what you're pushing into retail. A good example of what you can do online versus in stores is when you point to like Nike, for example, right? And they're going to sell their classic Air Force One in Foot Locker, every Foot Locker across the country, every
Hmm.
store that sells shoes. But if you go to Nike.com, that's when you can actually see the variety, all those limited edition Nikes that people love. And that's really the unique aspect of Nike.com is you can buy
Hmm.
stuff there that you can't get elsewhere. So we're pushing a lot of our limited roasts and unique
Okay.
variety to D2C. And we're great on executing on that variety because coffee is a seasonal fruit. It's the seed of a cherry. So every harvest is different. And we're procuring from different origins that have different harvest times throughout the year. So we can keep that variety flowing online, which is a key aspect of that subscription.
What are you seeing in terms of, like you said, the consumer who comes to the site signs up, they get a variety pack first? Is that always the case, or do you see consumers come in saying, "No, I know I want this one. Only send me that"?
10% of customers know what they want
Okay.
right now from what we're seeing. The others are looking for optimal variety to
Okay.
start. And then I think as their journeys move along, we do see that people are frequently switching packs and collections that they're getting. Again,
Okay.
it's so hard to buy a light, medium, and dark roast coffee at a store, brew it, actually taste the true identity of the coffee bean. So we're really helping customers understand what they like for coffee as well. Our data is very clean, right? Because we know if someone is melting this with 8 ounces of hot water, then they're tasting how that coffee should taste. If they're getting sent the bean version, they're really judging how well they're brewing the coffee, is they're brewing consistent,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. Yep. For sure. Well, okay. Speaking of those new customers, what acquisition channels work well for you guys? You talked about field sampling and that being a good way to get the word out, but what else are you guys trying, and what's working, and what hasn't either?
Yeah, yeah. So our three favorite channels include the field sampling, right? We love working with creators as well, right? And there's a
Okay.
number of ways that you can work with creators, and then also our referral program is super important. So just to dive into some detail about what trends we've noticed are working with each channel, like out of home. One thing that's really important is that when you're selling a digital subscription in person, people are always looking for that instant gratification, that reward. So we found that,
Hmm.
okay, if you sign up for a subscription, this is the bonus. But if you sign up right here and right now, you get this fancy Cometeer tumbler and a 8 pack to bring home with you. So that customer can go home and have a
Mm.
cup immediately. If they have to
Nice.
wait 3 or 4 days, and it's an issue, and you know what? That tumbler that they get to help them develop their ritual, that's key. When we actually look at our competitors, they're not pushing folks towards a subscription right away, and you have to ask why. Well, if someone is buying a machine that receives a single serve capsule, that machine is what's going to get them to come back and buy again and again and again. So we're
Sure.
thinking like, okay, well, not having a machine is a blessing and a curse at the same time, but what can we give a customer that allows them to develop a new ritual, whether it's a kettle or a beautiful drinkware, spoon,
Hmm.
whatever it may be. But that's
Hmm.
huge for kind of developing a ritual and having a billboard somewhere that's not locked in your customer's freezer, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. Let's see here. Talking about kind of like affiliate deals with creators. That's kind of the focus. We love rev share opportunities. It's no secret for anyone that has a subscription, you can develop systems where there are residual payments to creators that you partner with. It's not just
Hmm.
all upfront. So really nothing too special there. Our
Okay.
retention, is incredible, like 100% past month 12. We really get lifers, so we can really get creative
Oh,
on that front. Rev share is a
okay.
great way to partner with creators to pull up paybacks. And what we'll do is we will do a mix of some media buys, right? So you test a creator that, they don't want to take a risk on your brand, but what you can show them after is how much more money that they would have made on the right rev share deal, right? And that's kind of I say you drop the
Mm.
chum into the water, you test with a bunch of creators, you see who's working, and then you try to reel them in and really partner with them. And we see power law very much in effect when we work with creators. So we're going to have our top 10 creators are going to be responsible for 70-80% of the ads. So once you've found someone that works, really leaning in developing a true unique partnership with them is important. And because we're vertically integrated, we own manufacturing, we can do a lot of unique things from an offering
Yeah.
standpoint to make the offer feel really special and unique and actually ship that creator's favorite coffee, or even leaning in and having them help source the beans specifically. They love being involved with that process. Another thing for us, I mentioned it earlier, but like finding creators who have audiences with a longer attention span, again, YouTube, podcasts, TikTok doesn't work too well for us when we're trying to really
Okay.
educate the customer and give those
Hmm.
several reasons to believe.
Is there any specific criteria when you're sourcing creators, specific things that they're looking for? Is it like those that create long form content themselves, or yeah, what works well for you guys?
Yeah, definitely folks who develop long form content on their own. We find that, being a coffee product and knowing like 85% of the adult population in the US drinks coffee, we can work with a wide range of creators. Now,
Okay.
depending on the creator, we might put a different secondary benefit out in front of their audience. Let's talk about maybe someone who's a creator in the fitness space, right? We want to put quality, right? Like we deliver the best tasting coffee on the planet, but also our caffeine content in the regular capsule is 180 milligrams of caffeine. It wakes you up. There's 3 times the amount of coffee in our capsule than other coffee pods. So if someone really is looking for that kick in the morning, maybe
Okay.
they'll advertise that as a secondary benefit. When someone who is a home chef creator, right, they might lean into the versatility of the product, making
Yeah.
lattes, espresso martinis,
Hmm.
affogatos, everything under the menu. So it's always quality first, the best tasting coffee on the planet. It's taste to believe. And then we'll choose the secondary benefit, whether again, it's the versatility, the recyclable
Okay.
capsule. You get.
And then lastly, referrals. I got to believe that this is a very, very important channel for you guys, right? Because if you find these people who really love good coffee, right, they become your evangelists and are wanting to spread the word themselves.
Yeah, it is. It's our number one acquisition channel right
Okay.
now, and we actually think that room to grow. And having a great referral program impacts the virality of the product, and it's really just a gift that keeps on giving. So one of our core metrics that we focus on here is K factor. It's the equivalent to the R naught number that we all learned about during the pandemic. And essentially it tells you, hey, when you acquire a customer, right, how many customers does that turn into? Right. So just to give you an example, let's say
Hmm.
your K factor is 0.2. You go out, you acquire 1,000 customers, right? You're going to get 200 customers in immediately from those thousands through one of our referral programs, right? And then that 200 is going to bring in 40, and that 40 is going to bring in 8. And then the last 8 maybe brings in a couple more, and you end up getting 250 new customers from the 1,000 that you bring in. And referral programs should be low CAC, fixed cost programs. So you get an idea of kind of what you're able to
Yep.
do on the acquisition front, knowing that, hey, when you bring in X customers, you're going to get more at a low fixed cost. So right now we have three ways that we're really bringing in customers from our existing base. The first is our existing referral program that that we are tweaking right now. So when you refer a friend, you get the opportunity to get cash off your next box. Some people love the cash off. You could then also select maybe merch, beautiful glassware, stuff to complement your drinking ritual. People love our swag. We love that. We want to be a lifestyle brand. We want to be more than just coffee. We want to be with you, every day as you take that 5 minutes to really enjoy your morning cup. So selling the ritual swag items as well through the referral marketplace is important. And then lastly, like rare coffees, right? Some people have too many mugs. Some people don't care about $20 off, but if there's a rare coffee from Yemen or Panama, like a small batch, 90 plus coffee, some people will, refer friends just to try that fancy coffee. So you hit different customers with the different rewards. Another program that we focus on is a gift-free box program. So when we know that we have a great customer, someone who stuck around for, 4 or 5 boxes, we'll actually give them a credit to gift a box to a friend for free, right? And what we're finding is that, great customers will gift this box to someone who is a high potential great customer, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're seeing great conversion rates, great retention rates. When you find that loyal customer, you isolate them, and then you give them this loyalty reward to gift a box to their friends for free. Also, the last one is a little bit more generic. So, people love gifting our product. And when someone receives a gift from an existing customer, there's a high likelihood that they'll actually convert and become a subscriber themselves. So when you factor all of those three, referral programs up, right, you actually see, you're hitting the same customer a few different ways and getting them to bring friends into the platform. And we're really excited about kind of the virality of where we are right now and where we can go with some small improvements to the program.
Yeah, absolutely. I love all of those programs. That's really smart. I love that gifting to a friend for loyal customers, because they're going to naturally give some thought to who's going to appreciate that. And I mean, that's getting right down to your target customer right there. That's beautiful.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We're really excited about it. And again, I think there is room to grow and do unique things with limited referral rewards and stuff like that. So yeah, that gift free box is awesome. And great customers refer great customers. That's one of my learnings throughout the year.
Yeah. Are you guys exploring any partnerships like other companies or products that are kind of tangential to yours that would go well together and kind of including your samples there or thinking about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we get, some fancy credit card data, and we love data, right? We dig into like where our customers are spending their money elsewhere, right? So we know like, hey, at a given store, if someone is a Cometeer customer, they might be 3 or 4 times more likely to shop at a given store than the average customer. So when we see this data, we can find, hey, do we want to do insert exchanges with another D2C brand, right? Are there a lot of synergies? And we found that actually worked well. That's a great low acquisition cost channel, just barter agreements with other brands, just being able to leverage your brand value, their brand value, and acquire customers for each other. That's great. And then knowing that we are, a coffee product, Taste to Believe, finding, hey, where can we maybe park a cart in a retailer to sample the product where we're giving away free coffee. It's a great experience for a customer walking into the store. We know that we're targeting the right customer. So when we get this list of where, our customers shop, we can try to identify, oh, well, there's a lot of these stores are in this specific mall. Let's set up a kiosk in this mall. And we're finding that works really, really well.
Well, yeah, definitely leveraging the data. So to that point, data is powerful. How have you guys brought all of that together? I mean, you're still probably in that relative startup mode, right? So, can't go out and spend millions of dollars on BI systems. How are you guys pulling all of this data in and using it?
Yeah. So luckily we really invested in our data team, and we brought in folks from Palantir, Oscar Health to really build out the systems. We use Looker to navigate all of the data. we need to make sure that we're utilizing the data so you could have the best, cleanest data on the planet. But if you don't have folks poking around and analyzing trends nonstop, then it
Yep.
doesn't do much good
It
for
won't.
you. So right
Right.
now, like the data infrastructure that we have is world class. And we know that, hey, we need to put more eyes on the data because the data is only as good as the people analyzing it, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah, 100% for sure. I mean, the data by itself doesn't really do much. To your point, you need to have the people that are poking around, looking for those trends. I mean, also thinking about it from your business perspective, right? Like, what is important to you guys? What's going to move the needle, and kind of sifting through the data to look for those trends, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And hygiene important. If you have bad
Mm-hmm.
data and you have the right people, then you might be getting steered in the wrong direction. So
Yeah,
that's key as well.
yeah, for sure. Well, tell me a little bit about, two questions. First, let's talk about COVID. I mean, what happened through that for you guys? Did you see that as a boost? Did that help things, or was that like a nightmare? What was it for you guys?
Yeah. So actually our fastest growing channel before the pandemic, and we were just piloting because we had a lab scale manufacturing line, was the office channel, right? So like
Okay.
we got the punch to the face from COVID that a lot of people received. We lost all of our largest customers
Mm.
overnight. Offices closed, but we had thrown a chip down on D2C because we love how coffee fits into a subscription model. People drink it every day. We can give people endless variety. We can point to Nespresso as a comp. They sell, $6-7 billion worth of coffee online every year. We know people like to buy their coffee online. So we always liked it as a channel. But one of the reasons why we had a chip down on Office and D2C, so we were prepared during the pandemic, is because we wanted clean data to show repeat purchase rates, right?
Okay.
Investors don't care about a bunch of people coming in and buying a new Kickstarter product. They want to see, are those folks who are buying the product referring friends, telling people about it, and are they
Hmm.
coming back around to buy the product again? So we had a chip down on D2C. We lost all of our largest customers overnight on the office side of things, but we were able to, while we were trying to close our Series A round, we ended up like quadrupling sales over the first 4 or 5 months of the pandemic. So I don't think everyone knew,
What
hey, how
timing?
long is this going to last? And investors were a lot more comfortable to invest once they saw that trend right at the beginning of the
Yeah.
pandemic. So yeah, it was a bit scary because we signed our term sheet December 31st, 2019. So we went into 2020 being like, this is going to be the best year ever. This is awesome. And I actually remember a meeting with one of my investors who was the VP of growth at Uber, right? Like an incredible operator. And he actually came in at the end of January. This guy like studied the R naught for a living. He was growth at Uber, right? Like how do
Hmm.
you refer people at Uber? And he was wearing a mask. He wouldn't shake, uh, anyone's hands. And he started telling us about the pandemic and what was going to happen. And he he really did have the crystal ball. So I was freaked out more than most people. And I remember talking to a mentor of mine. He was saying, look, Matt, like if there is a pandemic, right, people still need their coffee. People, and you ship direct to their house, you're going to be fine. And I remember then joking, like, all right, let's just hope that there's not a side effect where people lose their sense of smell or taste or anything like that. I remember joking about it. And then like two weeks
Oh my
later, sure
gosh.
enough, like 40% of people who get COVID never taste again. And I was like meltdown, was flailing like a fish. We stayed focused. We sold the product through the first initial months of the pandemic. We closed the big, $40 million Series A round to build this Willy Wonka brew and freeze plant up here in Gloucester. So it all worked out. And now we feel like we're just a little behind developing channels that would have been a focus earlier to just throw a chip on. Grocery stores weren't letting you sample the product during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Offices were closed. Restaurants just wanted to keep the lights on. So we've been slow to develop those other channels, but really we need to stay focused. And D2C has like enough mass to just focus on, honestly, over the next few years, even though we are now piloting other channels.
Curious, what have you seen that office channel do as people have started to come back to work, but not everybody, right? Some have gone completely remote. So what's that done?
Yeah, so office still isn't a full focus for us. We're actually more focused on retail right now. But what we're finding is that, you talk about referrals, right? We're actually finding our customer base is referring their office manager, and
Really?
office
Okay.
managers, we send them a sample, we do a free tasting for the office, and we're getting customers that way. So we haven't really built the
Okay.
top of funnel pipeline. We're just doing great, thoughtful CRM work to bring in office customers at this moment in time. If I were to guess, I think it's like 30 to 40% of what it was pre-pandemic. So it's a smaller channel right now, but still has billions of dollars of potential. I think the
Right.
office channel before the pandemic was like $6 or $7 billion.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, last question for you here, Matt. As you guys have grown, this obviously there were some major lessons right there through COVID, but can you name one or two things that you've learned along the way that you were like, gosh, this was great. I'm glad we did that. And maybe some, gosh, now that looking back, I wish we had done things a little bit different.
That's a great question. I'd say like more broadly, right? When you receive the type of funding that we've seen, right? You want to go out and you want to pursue a lot of different projects. Keep things simple. And we always say nail it, then scale it, right? So do more on less,
Yeah.
optimize a few things versus spreading resources thin across multiple initiatives. So right now, again, we're pulling in our focus on just the winning channels, if that makes sense. You need to test, but once you find something that works, don't move to the next thing. Try to even double down on it, if that makes sense.
It does.
And then I would say, if you are selling a product online, direct to consumer, just be very careful about discounting. Discounting is a drug. It'll work, but then, customers will get a tolerance to it. And all of a sudden there's just a ripple effect from discounting and what you want to do. I think other promotions are much better, gift with purchase, especially when you want to be a premium brand. So there are just lasting effects from discounting, and you can't, once you start discounting, turning it off overnight has an issue. So you really test discounting thoughtfully. Don't just go and all of a sudden throw all of these different promos out, because reeling it in can be difficult later on.
Okay. That sounds like a really good lesson learned right there. Is that one you learned the hard way?
Yeah, that is one that we learned the hard way, but we also learned a lot from it. So now we're not like hesitant when it comes, oh, should we just go out and discount? And I think we just, we extra learned. We learned a little too much, and we probably should have pivoted faster, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. Absolutely. Well, Matt, this has been a lot of fun. Enjoyed learning about the business and what you guys have been doing. If any of the listeners today have some questions about what we talked about, or they want to learn more about Cometeer, where are the best places to go?
I would go to cometeer.com, COMETEER.com, and you can do /subscription scaled and get a nice little promotion on that front. We have a lot of education on the website as well. And if you are a coffee drinker, you absolutely need to give the product a try. Try it next to your current go-to, and I'm hoping that you can taste the difference in our unique manufacturing process here.
Awesome. Well, I definitely plan on doing that. I'm a coffee drinker myself and always looking for new things, and I'm very interested in this process. So definitely want to check it out. But Matt, thanks again for the time today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Nick.